Agriculture plays a key role in global and local sustainable development. The way we produce and consume food contributes greatly to climate change. At least 1/3 of total global greenhouse emissions from human activities can be attributed to the way we produce, process, transport, and package food. Expansion of agricultural commodities is the largest driver of deforestation worldwide, and food systems remain a key contributor to global nature loss with profound implications for people. Food systems are key to achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. A substantial funding is essential for transforming food systems to achieve climate mitigation. The prime mission of ADFIAP is to advance sustainable development by strengthening the development finance function in institutions, enhancing capacity of members and its human resources, and advocating development finance innovations across the Asia-Pacific. Cambodian agriculture is in the midst of a rapid transformation. This was driven by the use of new technologies and quality fertilizers, expanded irrigation, and better access to mechanized services and markets. Cambodia has been at the forefront of adopting the latest agricultural technologies in areas such as water management, drip irrigation, sprinkler systems, and water sensors. Precision agriculture systems, including GPS, remote sensing, and drones, have been embraced by farmers to collect key data on soil conditions, crop health, and pest infestation. The widespread use of smartphones has also allowed farmers to access agricultural information through various mobile applications. However, the productivity of most small farms remain low. Although these farms increase their income, it was achieved through higher rice prices and from wages earned outside of their own farms. Since 2013, Cambodia's rice production has flattened. This was due to the deceleration in land expansion, bad weather, falling global rice prices, and the tightening of competition among rice producers. The 47th ADFIAP annual meetings in 2024 emphasize on the theme of DFI's role in sustainable finance ecosystem. Cultivating a climate-smart and sustainable future is designed to facilitate an insightful, engaging, focused, and timely exchange of ideas, strategies, experiences, and practices in development finance, and will focus on food systems and agriculture, which are both major sources and victims of climate change. The meeting aims to highlight the intersection of agriculture, technology, climate-smart practices, and sustainable development. The theme encompasses the following key aspects of redefining agriculture, climate-smart practices, technology-enabled solutions or agri-fintech, sustainable development goals, partnership and collaboration in policy and investment frameworks. The theme aims to inspire dialogue, collaboration, and action among stakeholders to unlock the potential of agriculture, technology, and sustainable practices in building a climate-smart future and achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. The agenda also includes special interest sessions on Cambodia's rice sector development in serving the food security. The royal government of Cambodia is committed to combating climate change and accelerating the transition to a low-carbon and climate-resilient sustainable economy. The Cambodian Climate Financing Facility Program has been approved by Green Climate Fund in March 2024 to address cross-cutting goals include accelerating implementation of the country's nationally determined commitment, scaling up climate finance, and lowering greenhouse gas emissions while boosting climate resilience. The Cambodia Climate Financing Facility Program consists of the $100 million lending facility. The CCFF will be capitalized with concessional funding from the Green Climate Fund, as well as co-financing from the Ministry of Economy and Finance and other co-financers. It will be administered by the Agricultural and Rural Development Bank, with Mekong Strategic Capital providing independent investment advisory support as the co-executing entity for the CCFF. This program provides long-term, blended climate finance to local financial institutions and private sector actors to address financial knowledge, capacity, and technology gaps hindering the uptake of targeted climate projects in Cambodia. The 47th ADFIAP annual meetings on the theme of DFI's role in sustainable finance ecosystem. Cultivating a climate-smart and sustainable future, share best practices, innovations, and solutions for enhancing the resilience and sustainability of food production and consumption. These meetings focus on the role of technology and innovation in enhancing agricultural productivity, improving food security, and promoting rural development, which are aligned national food systems and agricultural policies with climate action plans to unlock the potential of agriculture, technology, and sustainable practices in building a climate-smart future and achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. This video is a collaborative production between ARDB and the ADFIAP Secretariat. Agriculture plays a key role in global and local sustainable development. The way we produce and consume food contributes greatly to climate change. At least 1/3 of total global greenhouse emissions from human activities can be attributed to the way we produce, process, transport, and package food. Expansion of agricultural commodities is the largest driver of deforestation worldwide, and food systems remain a key contributor to global nature loss with profound implications for people. Food systems are key to achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. A substantial funding is essential for transforming food systems to achieve climate mitigation. The prime mission of ADFIAP is to advance sustainable development by strengthening the development finance function in institutions, enhancing capacity of members and its human resources, and advocating development finance innovations across the Asia-Pacific. Cambodian agriculture is in the midst of a rapid transformation. This was driven by the use of new technologies and quality fertilizers, expanded irrigation, and better access to mechanized services and markets. Cambodia has been at the forefront of adopting the latest agricultural technologies in areas such as water management, drip irrigation, sprinkler systems, and water sensors. Precision agriculture systems, including GPS, remote sensing, and drones, have been embraced by farmers to collect key data on soil conditions, crop health, and pest infestation. The widespread use of smartphones has also allowed farmers to access agricultural information through various mobile applications. However, the productivity of most small farms remain low. Although these farms increase their income, it was achieved through higher rice prices and from wages earned outside of their own farms. Since 2013, Cambodia's rice production has flattened. This was due to the deceleration in land expansion, bad weather, falling global rice prices, and the tightening of competition among rice producers. The 47th ADFIAP annual meetings in 2024 emphasize on the theme of DFI's role in sustainable finance ecosystem. Cultivating a climate-smart and sustainable future is designed to facilitate an insightful, engaging, focused, and timely exchange of ideas, strategies, experiences, and practices in development finance, and will focus on food systems and agriculture, which are both major sources and victims of climate change. The meeting aims to highlight the intersection of agriculture, technology, climate-smart practices, and sustainable development. The theme encompasses the following key aspects of redefining agriculture, climate-smart practices, technology-enabled solutions or agri-fintech, Sustainable Development Goals, partnership and collaboration in policy and investment frameworks. The theme aims to inspire dialogue, collaboration, and action among stakeholders to unlock the potential of agriculture, technology, and sustainable practices in building a climate-smart future and achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. The agenda also includes special interest sessions on Cambodia's rice sector development in serving the food security. The royal government of Cambodia is committed to combating climate change and accelerating the transition to a low-carbon and climate-resilient sustainable economy. The Cambodian Climate Financing Facility Program has been approved by Green Climate Fund in March 2024 to address cross-cutting goals include accelerating implementation of the country's nationally determined commitment, scaling up climate finance, and lowering greenhouse gas emissions while boosting climate resilience. The Cambodia Climate Financing Facility Program consists of the $100 million lending facility. The CCFF will be capitalized with concessional funding from the Green Climate Fund, as well as co-financing from the Ministry of Economy and Finance and other co-financers. It will be administered by the Agricultural and Rural Development Bank, with Mekong Strategic Capital providing independent investment advisory support as the co-executing entity for the CCFF. This program provides long-term, blended climate finance to local financial institutions and private sector actors to address financial knowledge, capacity, and technology gaps hindering the uptake of targeted climate projects in Cambodia. The 47th ADFIAP annual meetings on the theme of DFI's role in sustainable finance ecosystem, cultivating a climate-smart and sustainable future, share best practices, innovations, and solutions for enhancing the resilience and sustainability of food production and consumption. These meetings focus on the role of technology and innovation in enhancing agricultural productivity, improving food security, and promoting rural development, which are aligned national food systems and agricultural policies with climate action plans to unlock the potential of agriculture, technology, and sustainable practices in building a climate-smart future and achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. This video is a collaborative production between ARDB and the ADFIAP Secretariat. Agriculture plays a key role in global and local sustainable development. The way we produce and consume food contributes greatly to climate change. At least 1/3 of total global greenhouse emissions from human activities can be attributed to the way we produce, process, transport, and package food. Expansion of agricultural commodities is the largest driver of deforestation worldwide, and food systems remain a key contributor to global nature loss with profound implications for people. Food systems are key to achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. A substantial funding is essential for transforming food systems to achieve climate mitigation. The prime mission of ADFIAP is to advance sustainable development by strengthening the development finance function in institutions, enhancing capacity of members and its human resources, and advocating development finance innovations across the Asia-Pacific. Cambodian agriculture is in the midst of a rapid transformation. This was driven by the use of new technologies and quality fertilizers, expanded irrigation, and better access to mechanized services and markets. Cambodia has been at the forefront of adopting the latest agricultural technologies in areas such as water management, drip irrigation, sprinkler systems, and water sensors. Precision agriculture systems, including GPS, remote sensing, and drones, have been embraced by farmers to collect key data on soil conditions, crop health, and pest infestation. The widespread use of smartphones has also allowed farmers to access agricultural information through various mobile applications. However, the productivity of most small farms remain low. Although these farms increase their income, it was achieved through higher rice prices and from wages earned outside of their own farms. Since 2013, Cambodia's rice production has flattened. This was due to the deceleration in land expansion, bad weather, falling global rice prices, and the tightening of competition among rice.
Okay, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Please make yourself comfortable and take a seat, and please allow our team to resume the session 6 panel discussions from now. Honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you have enjoyed your networking lunch. We have a variety of sessions that have been discussed throughout the first day and second days, and now we are ready to resume with our session 6, which we will be covering the topic of policy and investment framework. But before we do that, I would like to mention just some important factor that I want you to keep in mind during this event, that all of the rice that are being served at our lunch dining ballrooms, those rice are from our rice. It's not from the Sofitel Hotel's rice. It's actually from ARDB rice. So for that, I want you to give a big round of applause to the rice production of the Kingdom of Cambodia. Thank you so much. Actually, we will continue to serve for lunch and dinner throughout your whole trip for this ADFIAP 47 annual meetings. And one more thing to keep in mind is that I was asked to remind all of our participants and delegates who have traveled all the way from around the world to the Kingdom of Cambodia that this is your chance to actually take a trip to Angkor Wat Siem Reap. If you haven't done that yet, I highly encourage that you take the time to visit Angkor Wat Siem Reap, because if you travel by cars, it only takes about 5 hours. But if you take the flight, that's about 30 to 45 minutes. So it's your best chance right now to visit Angkor Wat Siem Reap. Thank you so much. For this afternoon, General Assembly, I was asked to remind you that it is only for ADFIAP member only. So the delegates meet delegates. That's the General Assembly, which will take place at the Grand Ballroom. And that will take place at around 2:45 after we finish the session 6. So I would like to remind you that it is only for ADFIAP members only. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, we will be covering our session 6 from now, covering the topic of policy and investment framework. I would have the honor to invite Mr. Tarun Sharma, Deputy Managing Director, Export-Import, Bank of India, and distinguished speaker with us today. And I would leave this honor to our moderator of this afternoon session so that Mr. Tarun can invite his panelists. Thank you so much.
Very good afternoon, Namaskar. I'm delighted to be here. Thank you very much. This is the hardest part, the last session, that too after lunch. I was just wondering, whether we should maybe do it virtually or some other time. But thank you very much for coming here, and it is my pleasure and honor to be here amongst all of you. Today's last topic is very, very fascinating. We've heard some very interesting stories on sustainable finance, on green energy, on development. And what better time to now discuss policy and investment framework? What are the policy prescriptions? How should we handle it? So I thought I'll maybe take a moment to put this in context and then invite our honorable panel members. Now, most of us are from developing countries, or rather all of us are from developing countries, and I think we understand best how the change of climate and the environment, the planet, is creating problems for us in terms of, vulnerabilities, extreme weather conditions, the limited resources that we have. Uh, a lot of developing countries, including India, focus on agriculture as a huge boost to economy, and that gets severely affected. We in developing countries struggle to adapt and mitigate effectively, leading to economic shocks, food insecurity, water insecurity, and even displacement. We've seen that happen very often. Incidentally, last year, 2023, was the warmest year in, I think, since the pre-industrial average from 1850 to 1900, huge. So it's about 2.45 degrees Fahrenheit or 1.36 degrees Celsius warmer. So, all the naysayers on climate change need to understand that we are doing a huge damage to the planet. It's a huge threat to the ecosystem as well. Now, let me take a moment and talk a little bit about India. We've been, looking at mostly conventional sources of energy over the last several decades. And gradually, we've moved into, more renewable sources. We made a commitment to be net zero by 2070. It's a long way ahead, but India is a large country, and we've tried to, move ahead very rapidly on this space. Today, 50% of the energy consumption, so from a power deficit nation to somebody at power surplus, and 50% of our energy coming in from renewable sources is a huge plus. We've got one of the highest growth rates for renewable energy in the world. We've become the third largest solar power generator. It's very significant installed capacities. It's grown 30 times over the last decade, about 82 gigawatts. We are setting up again a very massive mega plant in Gujarat, in the state of Gujarat. This is on the western part of India, upwards of 30 gigawatts there. What is also happening in terms of policy prescription, that government is looking at various incentives, various schemes to accelerate this transition to more. We've put in place production-linked incentive schemes, encouraging people to look at solar manufacturing, advanced cell chemistry production, attracting investment, global investment, and incentivize scaling up. So that's making a huge difference. We've set ourselves a target of 280 gigawatts of installed solar capacity by 2030, which is barely 6 years away. Now, a little about Exim Bank. What we do, we are a government-owned institution set up by an act of parliament, primarily focused on trade and investment, but we lend to partner countries in the developing space. We've got exposures to about over 60 countries in Africa, in Asia, in Latin America, where we help develop socio-economic development projects. We support these projects for energy transition, in the renewable energy space, energy efficiency, waste management, water and sanitation, transportation, in the energy efficient space. I'll give you maybe one or two small examples, not the large ones, but and that's what we need to focus as here. Some small, very good examples, so which really thrills me, and I thought I'll talk about that. One of them is a company that is set up in the southern part of India. This company is now identifying sources of waste across the country through an app-based system. It does geomapping, identifies that the locations, picks up that, so gets the waste collected. Largely, recycling in India has been in the informal space. So they're trying to formalize this space. What they do is they collect it, segregate it, and they've got a proprietary process under which they create near virgin quality plastic. The quality is so good that leading MNCs that manufacture cosmetics, they use these plastic bottles. So they may be shampoo bottles by Procter & Gamble or Unilever. Typically, these companies will want virgin plastic to be used for their containers. But they're happy with the near virgin quality through the recycled plastic. That shows that there is so much that we can do. Now, if you're able to scale this or replicate it in other countries, it can make a huge impact. And that is why I'm giving this example. How do we replicate these successes over in partner countries? Another example is, a company providing storage solutions. solutions. Now, this company has just recently gone and done a public offering. It has gone through the IPO route. It has raised equity in the markets. But a couple of years ago, or maybe 4 years ago, it was a very small company that had just started off. What they do is they manufacture solar-powered refrigeration solutions and use AI. They've got a proprietary system under which the humidity and temperature is controlled in such a way that whether the fruit or the vegetable that you put in, it understands what temperature it should and what humidity it should maintain depending on the ambient temperature outside. It's a huge plus, particularly for farmers in the hinterlands. How do they transport their produce, or how do they store their produce, especially for goods that are very, very perishable? With these two examples, I'll take a pause, and I will now invite our honorable panel members, Mr. Naseeb Al-Kasabi, the Director General Corporate Strategy, Saudi Fund for Development.
For the session 6 panel discussions, you have 45 minutes. Please stick to your time frame. Thank you.
Mr. Bruce Tolentino, the private sector member, monetary board member, Banco Central, NG Filipinas. Mr. Mohammad Izrani Abdul Hamid, Group Head, Group Private Equity and Strategic Investments, Bank Pengawanan, Malaysia. Mr. Suon Sofal, Deputy Secretary General of the Cambodia Investment Board, the Council for Development of Cambodia. Mr. Ralph Wolmering, EH Bank. Professor Dr. Sok Sifana. So with that, I'll request maybe the first panel member, Dr. Sifana, to start maybe for 5 minutes talking on policy and investment framework. What I plan to do is maybe once we have the first round of discussions, I'll maybe pose a couple of questions to each of the panel members, if that's okay. Thank you.
Let me say hi to everybody here. A session after lunch is not conducive for a good discussion because most of us are sleepy. I hope you're not sleepy, and we try not to make you sleepy. So I would be very entertaining if I may. So then this way we are alert. But on the topic of investment and policy, I think we have to put into context that investment is all related to trade. And we are now, for the last couple of weeks, we are living in a time where there's so much change is happening in the world. You know, the tension with the US and China, President Biden 2 days ago increased the tariff on Chinese EV car, the friendshoring, the offshoring, all these things are happening. And it has a direct bearing on investment. Because if we do not have a good market access, or if our market access is restricted, how do we invest for that? So I think when we look at this investment policy framework, we have to bear in mind that investment is not happening in a vacuum. There have to be an ecosystem where we can navigate. And we are living in a region now that is very dynamic in the sense that it's a lot of geopolitical tension. And we must recognize the tension, because we cannot go on living, yeah, I'm just doing finance, oh yeah, I'm just doing trade. Yeah, no, because the global aspect will force us to realize that, are you part of the supply chain? How is your supply chain, affecting in the new context? Finance. We are now, dealing with the sustainable financing. I remember 25 years ago when I was a Vice Minister of Commerce and we were negotiating the WTO accession, most of the topic 25 years ago is irrelevant now. We have to relearn everything about trade, about investment, about finance. Fintech did not exist. Not talking about 25 years ago, even 10 years ago. So here we're looking at the issue of policy. It's a new era. And I noticed that many of you are old, right? I mean, like me, I'm in late 60 already. And if you're in the 60, more than likely, things that you learn in the university doesn't apply. Doesn't apply because it's all new thing. Even me, I happen to chair the Cambodia Trade Policy Advisory Board. It's a big board, but then I told my board member, I say, look, man, stuff that we learned 25 years ago is irrelevant now. Now we're talking about other issue, finance, but it's not the traditional finance. Talking about climate change. We never heard about climate change 25 years ago, right? We're talking EV car. What the hell is an EV? In those days, even the internet doesn't work. So I think it's very important that we bear in mind that we are living in a very dynamic time, and things that we know now, we have to keep learning. We have to keep learning. And what is important, particularly I notice in this room, there are a small country, there are big country. And it's very important that the big country share what they know, what they went through. I mean, it's like comparing China, which is a big watermelon, and to Fiji, which is an orange. It's hard to compare the sheer magnitude of this country, but the experience that the big country have gone through in China it's enormous, your finance. And how does it relate to a smaller country? Cambodia, we are trying to emulate a certain best practice, but the size, the scale matter. So I would say, it's important that we take into consideration the size of the country, but foremost, the big country, you got to be able to share what you learn, what you have gone through, because everything is not set in stone. What China have gone through, what Pakistan, what India have gone through, it's a lot of trial and error. But how do we, as a smaller country, and I would say Cambodia is a small country. I'm not claiming we're a big country. We're a small country. We're going through the process of learning, but it's important that we learn what has been done good in other countries. We don't want to go through a trial and error process. So basically, that's what I want to set the stage in terms of policy discussion today. And I would, stop now to allow other colleagues to share their perspective here.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Sofal. Talking about trade, 6 of the SDGs are related to trade, and it's, you've rightly pointed out, it's extremely important. Also, sharing of development experiences, I think absolutely critical. So you've taken it to the next level. I'll maybe now invite Mr. Nasir.
Good afternoon, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It's really a pleasure for me for being here, and thanks for the ARDB for hosting this event, as well as thanks for the ADFIAP for highlighting this important topic. I will start talking about the change. I think what that we are doing is a huge change. And to be able to ground that, we need to understand the urgency. As DFIs, we all talk about SDGs. And as mentioned yesterday, the agricultural sector is a victim as well as a source of climate change. So without thinking and being smart, I think there is no way to achieve the SDGs. We can see here from this slide that there is a huge demand going to 56% increase in population in the world. There is a huge demand for food, and that makes more pressure on the second SDG goal, which is zero hunger. And the way to achieve that is increasing the agricultural investment. And this immediately will act negatively on 3 other SDGs goals, which is the climate action, life on land, as well as the clean water energy. So as the source of 1/3 of greenhouse gases, the agricultural sector need to think about how to tackle that issue. Otherwise, this investment, although will positively affect the food, but negatively affect the other SDGs. Same thing will happen for the water, the clean water as well. So we need to think about, I think, tackling that issue by supporting the agriculture, but in a new way, in order to be able to achieve those 3 goals in 3 SDGs goals with the zero hunger goal as well. So that, I think, makes us think about the only one solution, which is smart agriculture. And this is the only one solution because it reduces, it increases productivity, it enhances resilience, and reduces emissions as well. So this is the only one choice that we have to think about. And I will go back here to the cooperation point that mentioned by His Excellency, that the cooperation is a key here, and we will come to that in the conclusion at the end. The second, I think, alarming point is that low and middle income countries are the most affected countries. And it is also, although a risk, but an advantage, because the agricultural system, contribution to GDP is around 50%, which is above, clearly, consistently above of the rest of the world. So if we invest smartly, definitely we'll be able to improve the situation of development of those countries. So this is the second point that I want to highlight. The third one is that without private sector contribution, there is no way to solve it. The available funding is 1/10 of the required amount, and what is being given now, only 4% of the demand. So without private sector contribution, the DFIs on their own will not be able to solve that issue. So there are now 2 important pillars, I think, is collaboration, knowledge sharing, to be able to incentivize the ecosystem, and share the knowledge and successful and best practices between countries, and this could be done through DFIs. The second pillar is private sector contribution and minimizing the barriers to private sector contribution. The third pillar, I think, is innovation. Without innovation and paving the way, putting an ecosystem that incentivizes innovation in that sector, will not be able to do it. Climate smart needs new ideas and breakthroughs that would help the sector, as the iPhone did. We have to think about new ways of doing things. And putting the investment framework or policy, I think we need to think about 3 important things: high productivity, reduce greenhouse emissions, and increase farmers' incomes. If we think about those 3 objectives while forming any policy or designing a new financial product, we will be able, I think, to tackle this issue easily. So here I will come to our topic after grounding the need and showing the importance. We have, I think, we can, solve this issue by strengthening the institutional capabilities, as well as creating enabling ecosystem. This what can actually the policy help on. The main issue here is that it requires the DFIs, or the role of DFIs would be the knowledge sharing in that area and sharing the best practices. In risk management, I think there are a lot of good examples and framework in India that could be taken into consideration and shared with other rest of the part of the world. And risk management is an important task to be able to de-risk new investment and new ideas and make it happen into the market. The public-private partnership could be increased by by capitalizing on the institutional capabilities. Once you have public sector or DFIs that are really capable, they will be able to set or invest in ideas that attracts the private sector, and that's what you need, actually. The second thing about the ecosystem, we need to think about, again, I think special credit smart rating for this sector. We need to think about the climate smart advisory system. We need to think about frameworks for rural credit rating. And this can be done through research centers and universities. By DFIs could offer some funds and awards to incentivize those research centers to come up with new ideas. So having this ecosystem will be able to naturally breed new ways of doing or changing the current practices of agriculture. The third point here that I want to emphasize on, in flexible, innovative investment financing. The conventional soft loans will not help anymore. We need to blend finance. We need to think about grants blended with soft loans, supported by the insurance. The insurance is an important factor to help and reduce the barrier to entry for those small enterprises to enter the market and come up with new ideas. We have seen yesterday an example in Malaysia, highlighted by Mr. George from Sabah Credit Corporation. How do they incentivize this small group of people to come up with a data center that helps other farmers with no cost, with just providing a seed financing to start this kind of innovative project. The fourth point is enhancing the entry point, and that's an important point, I think, and also the investment pipeline. This is a very vital and important point, because without, even if you have an ecosystem, if you have everything in place, without enhancing the lowering the entry point and minimizing the risk, you will not be able to have those ideas to be practically deployed in place. So an example or a suggestion for that would be a fund, capital fund, that invests in new venture, a new venture fund that invests in small new startups that might help in bringing new ideas to the agriculture. And having this fund, I think, or such a fund, will minimize the risk for the DFIs because when you invest in those small ideas, you will be able to have one successful idea that will cover the cost of the rest. So this is a sustainable way that will help in putting those ideas in the market. That's in short that I want to mention, and I want to also to highlight about the importance of insurance. I think credit insurance is the gateway for the private sector. And as mentioned yesterday, I think the Small Industries Development Bank of India is a good example of that. The numbers that they gave are huge, and there is, I think, a good chance to learn from that, from their experience. Sharing this kind of experience in the insurance will be able to pave the way for all developing countries, I think, low and middle income countries, to support the private sector startups without having a huge investment. So once you insure a loan of 100 million, you will pay maybe 10% as an insurance, but you will provide $100 million, which will solve the issue of limited financing, as well as preserving the capital of the DFIs, at the same time providing sustainability of loans. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Nasir. I think, Saudi is leading the, by example in terms of the NEOM city and all that they're doing to transform the economy to non-oil as well. So remarkable. May I now request Mr. Mohammed Hazrani Abdul Hamid to please speak. Thank you.
Does it work? Oh, there you go. To give some perspective, Malaysia has grown from an agriculture country, mining, agriculture, industrial manufacturing, and now we're moving to more value-added investments and industries. So what we do at Bank Pembangunan is more aligned to what the country aspires to be in the next few years. So every 5 years we have this mission plan, and recently the government introduced 2 plans, which is the National Energy Transition Roadmap and the National Industrial Master Plan. So what we do at the bank is largely looking at how we can support the country. So as a snapshot, we just celebrated our 50-year anniversary. We have regulated by the central bank. We're a AAA rated bank, 100% owned by the government. We have 5 pillars in terms of the schemes that we provide on behalf of the government. One is the Sustainable Development Scheme. This is entirely looking at how we can finance sustainable projects. Secondly is the Industrial Digitalization Transformation Scheme. This is looking at how we can automate and digitalize all our SMEs. The third is the National Development Scheme. This is where we finance things under the 12 Master Plan and also the roadmaps and the NIMP. The fourth, being a maritime industry, we are still looking at financing maritime and logistics. This also includes our exploration in oil and gas. The fifth item is tourism. So 14% of what we do in GDP of Malaysia is from tourist inflows. So we are probably the largest financier of hotels in Malaysia. So how we approach, I take this from the perspective of private equity. So as an investor, what we look at is, one is impact financing, impact capital. Whenever we do an investment, there has to be an impact to what we do. Secondly, blended financing. We work closely with our colleagues at the banking side to give a package of both equity and debt, and also guarantees. The third item is crowd-in capital. We have 2 ways of doing this. One is when we go into an investment, we bring in other investors. The other part is when we raise a fund, we bring in other LPs to participate in our fund. The fourth is, of course, aligning our investment with economic policies and plans. How we do this? We have a framework called MIND, which is short for measuring impact through national development. We have a score, probably I can't explain everything to you, but it's a proprietary scoring method we developed with the World Bank. We use this score to actually, whenever we do a financing for projects, whenever we do an investment, we use this score to actually give an indicator of how much this company is rated. So for equity, for example, we have a baseline number that we use upon entering in a company. Then we work with the companies on how we can increase their ESG approach to business. So that is our two-way approach. So it's just not about financial numbers, not just making our IRRs, it's also about giving impact and giving back to the country. What are the things that we look at? One is, these are the 8. I will just summarize it. One is how do we increase our presence in the ecosystem? How do we increase our competitiveness largely in certain industries? How do we compete with other countries in the ASEAN region? Digitalization is very important to us. We are still manual driven. Large part of our labor is still foreign dependent. And how does it impact, whenever we do, how does it impact the society? How does it impact the economy in terms of GDP contribution? This is the last slide for me. It's basically what we do at the equity front. We are currently looking at, start with a half a billion ringgit fund. We have two approaches. One is we do through direct investments, and the other part is we partner with other LPs to build a fund. So largely we become an anchor investor in the fund, and then we pull in capital from other investors. And is mainly to help. One is helping our colleagues at the banking to address funding gap. Second is to help companies grow organically and inorganically. And third is actually to help for Malaysia to move into areas which are new. So new growth areas we're putting one hand into the company, and with after that we can bring in our lending team to actually finance the entire ecosystem. So thank you very much. That's my presentation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Abdul Hamid, for beautifully articulating the various pillars in our quest for making these sustainable investments. May I now invite Mr. Ralph Wolmering to please share his thoughts.
Good afternoon, everybody. Hopefully the lunch was fine, and now the awareness is on the topics we want to discuss here under the headline Policy and Investment. Shortly introduce myself. My name is Ralph Wolmering. I'm the member of the Board of Management of ERH Bank in Hamburg, Germany. We have been established in 1971, and since then we are working in the trade financing for Europe, Germany and Iran. The reason why I'm here that because the Bank of Industry in Main are one of our shareholders and honorable founder, co-founder of ADFIAP, introduced us to show up here, and we applied for membership, and we're happy that it was accepted by the board. Coming to the topic, and I'm deleted the slides because we were advised not to talk longer than 5 minutes, so I prefer to refer to my statement. What is the frame we're talking about? I just received the latest World Economic Forum report, and they listed up what problems occur in the next 10 years. Extreme weather events, critical change of Earth system, ecosystem collapse. This is the framework we are talking about. Not since yesterday, some days ago, we started discussing these issues. At the moment, everybody thinks about what are options to solve these massive problems. The decarbonization, a lot of people say until 2050. others talk about 2070. Sometimes people talk about it is 12 o'clock noon or even too late to solve these problems, but I think solving these problems is the main issue to follow up, to allow all the projects we heard about yesterday and as well today to be successful. If we do not solve this major problem, all the other problems will be projects will probably be affected by that. The second issue we heard of recent days was the massive capital which is needed to solve this problem. And for this, we all have to think about how can this be managed. And that's the reason why we have this panel here, to look for options and solutions by which this can be solved. The third issue is energy. Nearly every statement which was given said that saving energy, stabilization of energy systems is very important for this massive problem. So what is the role of DFIs in this context to solve all these problems, or to support to solve these problems? One thing is, and that's the reason why we intend to join ADFIAP, is to be much more in contact between commercial banks and DFIs. I think the money next to funds which also intend to support this issue. When I was invited to take part in the last meeting of ADFIAP in Nigeria, the CEO meeting, this issue also was on the table. It took place in November last year, not that long ago, but this issue is still very important. Second thing is, DFIs have to be a transformer. That means DFIs, and I worked for myself 12 years for a German DFI before I joined EIH Bank. DFIs have a political direction. That means they go into markets where commercial banks probably, I have to say in former times, were not interested to invest in, because the ROA or ROE were not interesting for them. In the meantime, they are also affected if they do not think about a change in their policy. For this reason, we think that the cooperation between commercial banks and DFIs has to be much narrower than before. I was very delighted to see that ARDB, as a good example, launched a fund with the support of an external consultant to support these targets. Hopefully this sample will be also a basis for others here in this room, as well as for commercial banks to follow up, because I think that there's no alternative to this much more closer cooperation. But the basis for all that, and that's my fourth point, is the political framework. We just heard in one of the statements before, there are decisions by the US to reject importing goods from China. There are some reasons that national governments do not support these issues in regard of climate change. They just deny issues like that. I think everybody in this room is aware that these stories, telling these stories, the time is over for that. We have to face the problems and the advantage, the challenges which come out of this. When I talk about commercial banks and investors, of course they have to think over their risk policy. In the past, no financing was done when there was not, in the timeline of 1 year, 2 years, a return on investment. We heard yesterday that even the planning of the fund took 18 months to be implanted. So talking about commercial banks, and that's the reason we are here, we want to be part of the solution. We don't want to be part of the problem. that we hinder developments in regard of necessary developments which have to be done. In the discussion, there was this issue that all the projects which were described here are a step forward. Every project. If it was an app, if it was a green fund, everything helps out to solve the problem. And regarding us, just two small examples. Probably talk about one of these issues tonight. Is that in Iran there was a wastewater project installed by BIM at that time. Water is an issue which is very important also for the very, very future. So they started a project to use wastewater to clean it up again, that it is possible to reuse it again. That's one thing. Iran, as well as Germany, have got a strong steel industry. Steel industry is a very high or energy intensive industry in this regard. We started in Iran the replacement of gas and other botanical energies by solar energy. These are not issues which can be realized tomorrow, but you have to have the political will to do so. And the intensity with which you follow up projects like that help out to solve the problems. Until we have so-called green steel, that means steel which is produced in a relevant environment, some way to go, but the solar plants we set up to replace organic gas by solar energy is, from our point of view, one of the first steps to do so. What are the results out of these personal statements by myself? Make sure that the goals in regard of decarbonization are to be reached as soon as possible. DFI, as well as ADFIAP as an organization who brings the interests and interest groups together, and probably there's a chance to set up venues like this with an even more specific topic that the experts of each of the members as well as external partners can participate, can be a format probably to have a look on. So DFIs will play an important role in this investment change process, I would name it. And for this, DFIs also will be in the future a very, very important regional key player. And for this, thank you for your attention, and I'm waiting for discussion after that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ralph, and welcome to the ADFIAP family. We are delighted to see you join part of us. May I now invite His Excellency Lord T. Chansospik to please share his thoughts. Thank you.
Hello, very good afternoon. Let me show my respect to Excellency Sosipada, his Senior Minister, Excellency Chair, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I am the advisor of the Council for Development of Cambodia. So today I'm very happy and to share about what the Cambodian government have been implementing related to investment as well as about the sustainable investment. It seems to be that currently when I visited, when I deliver a speech, I joined some seminar, or even I always heard about the sustainable investment. Before we only talk about the investment, but today we talk about sustainable investment. Like last year I joined to be a speaker at the OECD in Hanoi. Also, sustainable investment is also the hot topic that I think all the country is focusing on. So today I would like to share what we have done and what we have been doing related to the sustainable investment. So first I would like to introduce you about the Council for Development of Cambodia, that abbreviated as the CDC. We are the Etat Major of the Royal Government to facilitate about investment in Cambodia. but we just the facilitator to facilitate about the investment itself. But not, it doesn't mean that all the investment that would like to invest in Cambodia must come to CDC. It doesn't mean like that. If you would like to invest in some sector or investment activity, you have to discuss with the technical ministry or institution. And CDC itself is just an institution that provides you the incentive. Yes. So I think maybe you know already that Cambodian government of Cambodia have just promulgated the new law on investment on the 15th October 2021, and also we also adopted the sub-decree to implement the law on investment on 26 June 2023. When we say about the investment regime in Cambodia, we talk about these two legal framework, law on investment of Cambodia and the sub-decree to implement of the law on investment of Cambodia. And because today's topic is about the sustainable investment, so I will not go deeply talk a lot about the incentive about investment, but I will introduce you about what the government of Cambodia have been doing so far. So if we talk about the investment in Cambodia we call the investment that apply registration in Cambodia, we call it QIP, Qualified Investment Project. That we have a small QIP for the QIP that produced in Cambodia and export to overseas. And the supporting industry QIP, it means the industry that support to the QIP that produced in Cambodia and export to overseas as well. And the other one is a domestically oriented QIP. And after you produce and you do a business, invest in Cambodia, and your business grow, and then you expand your business, it's called the EQIP. And also the GIP. I think all the people know only the QIP, but they might never know about the GIP, that guaranteed investment project, that you just can get only the guarantee and protection, but not intangible to the incentive from the government. I think we have, now what we have been doing is we try to reform, we try to facilitate more, to ease the procedure, to simplify the administrative procedure, that now the CDC established the desk. We have the European desk, we have the China desk, we have the EU desk, we have the Japan desk, Korean desk, and also the AFID. The desk is to welcome those from the different nations, like if the investor from Japan, we have the Japan desk to welcome, to provide information, to speak it in Japanese. When the Korean investor come, we have the Korean desk. When the EU country come, we also have the EU desk. It is the very fruitful and very effective facilitation for the investor when they come to Cambodia. This is now we are trying to make everything very simple. Now, so far we register the QIP. When you invest in Cambodia, you have to register by manually. But now, I think in next month or next 2 months, we try to launch the registration by online. Now our Deputy Prime Minister, Excellency Sun Chanthol, is trying to speed up the first station by registration by online. That before we have 2 registration. One is conditional registration, and second is the final registration certificate. Now we merge 2 certificates into one. We have only 1 certificate. And for the working day to approve for the certificate, we deduct from the 25 days to only 20 days. And it is a very important point that for the royal government of Cambodia, we have prioritized some sector and some investment activity that you can see, or you can see in the law and also the sub-decree, that from 1 to 18, you can see one like a high-tech industry involving innovation or research for the development. 1, 2, 3, blah, blah, blah. And you take a look at the number 17, environmental management and protection, and biodiversity conservation, and the circular economy. And number 18, green energy technology contributing to the climate change adaptation and mitigation. It is a thing that to show you that to demonstrate that the Royal Government of Cambodia still take this climate change or environmental protection is the main sector, the main topic that we are focusing on, and we provide the incentive at the maximum, like up to 9 years. And if you look at the 19, you can also say that other sector and investment activity not listed by law and investment deemed by the Royal Government of Cambodia to have potential for socio-economic development. So if you cannot see your investment from 1 to 18, please don't be afraid that you are not eligible to incentive. If your activity or investment can contribute to the socio-economic, particularly to the environment, to sustainable or circular economic, it means your activity, your investment still consider to get incentive from the government as well. And take this opportunity, I also would like to inform you about the incentive that the Royal Government of Cambodia can provide you by, you can see we classify into 3 groups. Group 1 is that the high tech and priority. It stay in the group 1, and the group 2 is the mid-tech technology use industry. And for the group 3 is the low tech, it means the industry that use the low technology like garment. And so we we classify the investment into 3 this class. And I will not go deeply to the incentive because it might take a longer time, but I would like to brief you that for the group 1, that use the high technology industry, you are eligible, you are eligible to get the income tax exemption up to 9 years. And for the group 2, you will get the income tax exemption that we call the tax holiday up to 6 years. And for the low tech industry, use industry, you are eligible to get incentive from the Royal Government of Cambodia for 3 years. And after the 9 years, after the 6 years, after the 3 years, you also eligible to get the other 2 years to pay for the progressive rate. That for the first 2 years, you pay only 25% of the basic tax. And the next 2 years, you pay 50% of the basic tax. And for the last 2 years, you pay another 75% of the basic tax. So you will get, you are eligible to get the income tax exemption up to 15 years. And besides that, you also can get the exemption of the prepayment tax. You are also, if you buy the production input locally, you also don't need to pay VAT, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And also aftercare, if the investor, they have the problem before, when they invest in Cambodia, we try to facilitate them. And when they invest in Cambodia, during your operation, we also provide you the incentive. And when you invest in Cambodia, you encounter some problem, we also try to help you the problem as well. So from the beginning until the end of your project, we hold your hand together to invest in Cambodia, to do business together and grow together. And I would like to inform you that if you take a look at the Pentagonal strategy, at the Pentagon number 4, also the government of Cambodia also mentioned clearly about the resilient, sustainable, inclusive development as well. So please think, the government also we had a policy that support for the environment protection, sustainable investment, and in terms of the ministry, we also have the sector investment activity that we provide incentive as well, like I mentioned in the number 17 and 18. So in the end, I would like to ensure to inform you again and again that we are ready to join you to protect the environment, to make the circular economy. And also currently, I am also the one in the Council for Development of Cambodia to work with the UK, United Kingdom Embassy. Now we are considering to establish the Green Special Economic Zone. Now we are on the stage of the site selection. We might be considering it might be in the Kokong province. We work with the Ministry of Economy and Finance and also support by the UK Embassy to build the Green Special Economic Zone. Is the new SEZ, new new SEC that consists of the tenant that produce and with the compliance with the sustainable investment, I mean the renewable sources. If we look at the Ministry of Mine and Energy, you can see that in 2019, 62% of installed capacity derived from the renewable sources. And we try to achieve on 2030, we will try to get it 67, and 2040, the Royal Government can will try to reach the goal of the ASEAN commitment up to 70%. So it is to show that Royal Government Cambodia pay a lot of effort to work with you to comply with what we can say that is commitment from the region and also the global as well. So it is a time for me to conclude my presentation today. So thank you to Excellency, Senior Minister, Excellency Chair, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Do we have about 5 minutes for a Q&A? Yeah, okay. So, Excellency, Dr. Sifana, given your wide-ranging and very vast experience, I wanted to ask you that everybody is now looking at sustainable finance. What is your view for sustainable finance in the world, particularly for the Mekong region and Cambodia as well?
This is a very interesting question because ultimately we can talk till the cows come home, but the litmus test is that, can you do it? Will you do it? Because the challenge of development finance is that you have a lot of parameter. If I take, for example, our own agricultural development bank, there are many criteria that not to be met. But how do you respond to the need of a society? So here I want to take a good example. Right now, we are the #2 exporter of cashew in the world after Côte d'Ivoire, Ivory Coast. However, we export 95% of our raw material to Vietnam. We only process 5%. But the problem is that for cashew, is cash intensive. You need to buy the crop only in 3 months. For the whole year, only 3 months. You must secure the crop. If not, you will not have enough supply to process the rest of the year. But if last year we export 700,000 metric ton. So at about $1,500 per metric ton, you're talking about nearly $1 billion. So how can development finance step in to contribute to this process? Because the problem is that the processor have problem with cash. They have problem with cash because if they don't have the money to buy now, a neighbor will come to buy. Vietnam will come to buy. And because the state of Vietnam is subsidizing the buyer in Vietnam, and we, as a state, we don't have the money to subsidize. So our crop is going to Vietnam. So now my Prime Minister is try to pilot a project where we want to start humbly with 150,000 metric tons. But it's still you're talking about $200 million. Our bank don't have that. Agricultural Development Bank don't have that. So we have to pull private sector. The role of the private sector is so crucial here because the state can only do so much. The Ministry of Finance can only do so much. The power is in the private sector, as you mentioned, the private equity. How do we entice them to come and contribute into this development process? Because cashew is all about development. You're dealing with women because high labor intensive. Women not that educated. So basically you're reaching the lowest level of society. So in terms of poverty reduction, it's powerful. Powerful. And if you mention about climate change, the EU will impose soon that, look, Vietnam will have to declare that its Cambodian product packaged in Vietnam Because right now, they could just export as Vietnam product. But then the other side, they say, look, Sapana, many of your cashew plantation, is that coming from deforestation? If it is from deforestation, you may not qualify for access to the EU. So it's a lot of balancing tests. But ultimately, somebody have to call the shot. Somebody have to say, look, we have to support, we have to invest in that. So I think the challenge of Cambodia, this is just a case study of, for you gentlemen to help me think that how do we deal with that? Because banks say, look, Sama, we will lend provided you give me collateral. I say, well, I don't have collateral. If I have collateral, why do I need you? Right? It's simple as that. Say, okay, we will facilitate you provided you do this, 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 this. And the criteria is mind-boggling. So in this case, how can development finance soften the criteria if you want to achieve development objective, which is poverty reduction, gender issue, that sort of thing. But anyway, I'm just sharing, this small anecdote because I find it linked a lot to, your four speakers have mentioned climate change, private sector, sustainable development, that sort of thing. Yeah. Thank you.
Excellency, thank you very much. That was very, very, and I think the audience also appreciated, I think, very enlightening thought. And I certainly recall that as a young development practitioner about 2.5 decades ago, I learned that Cote d'Ivoire exports a lot of the cashew to India. And I said, why can't they process it there? Why don't we just supply equipment? But it's a much more complex problem than what I saw as a young kid. And we're still struggling to solve that problem. So thank you very much. On the thought of private sector, may I request Mr. Mohammad Azani Abdul Hamid to maybe share one challenge that you see for private sector coming into this space and making investments.
I think by and large, for private sector to come into certain sectors, especially new growth ones, is because it's new. We have a challenge looking at some of the energy transition programs because it's totally new in Malaysia. So for example, hydrogen, CCUS, storage. We're struggling with this because no one will fund it. No commercial bank will look at it. But what we're trying to do is, one, we're trying to park it with some grant, and we come in with some seed equity and some promoters equity. To start that with that one first, of course we start with some feasibility study, understanding how does technology work, compare it with what other countries is doing. So we start with some level of equity first. It's like funding a startup, and over time we'll have it able to raise its own debt. So challenges, one is unbankable or unserved markets.
Thank you very much, and we'll now move to Mr. Nasir. You spoke at length about the various pillars that are there in the segment of financing this space. Can you perhaps give us one example that could identify these pillars where SFD has been involved?
Well, SFD is operating in 90 countries. We have agricultural projects in more than around 40 countries around the world. And that sector, actually, we found that innovation is a little bit limited. And I think the only way out and possible to solve the issue is incentivizing innovation. And one example I would say here is a portfolio that we are trying to work with with one of our client countries. We're trying to form a fund, which is a private equity investment fund. And that investment fund will invest in small startups. Those startups, there is a condition for these startups to bring new ideas. And if you are bringing new ideas, you will be welcomed. But this will be a very soft loan, and we will share you the risk. So we will be investing in your in your capital. And what will happen is that we might be successful with one of two of those companies, and we expect that we lose the investment in the rest. But those two will help us to overcome the cost, and will be able to form a sustainable fund for that. Two things actually are benefit of that. The benefits of that is, number one is sustainability, which is the most, when you talk financial, sustainability is an important thing, because if I did not think about sustainability today, I will be able to help you, but tomorrow I will not be able. So accept our excuse as financial institutes to when we say that it is too risky, that we are not going to invest in, because we are thinking about helping you in the future, not only the state. So this is number one thing. Number two, we are incentivizing small enterprises to bring innovative new ideas to the market. And bringing it to the market is not an easy thing. So when you have everything in place, policy, government support, market is there, but the risk need to be shared. And this is the only way to do it. So I think this, if we say, I mean, this example would be a successful example. We hope so. We're still in early stages thinking about that example that will bring to the market new ideas, saving the sustainability of the fund. So this is one of the examples that I would share. Thank you.
Wonderful. I think bringing an idea into practice, into commercial practice is really a huge challenge, and getting that done successfully can do wonders for us. We'll move on to Ralph. You spoke about the role of the DFIs, commercial banks, various elements within that. You also spoke about geopolitical issues. Now, how do you see risk reward in investments being made? So, when an investment is being made in a particular geography, how does that investment happen vis-a-vis the risk return? Any thoughts on that?
Works. I didn't get the question quite right, because
so
it's
let
hard
me
to
let me
listen
just
here.
add one more element to it, maybe to become a little clearer. When you look at financial returns vis-a-vis environmental decisions that you're taking, how do you balance the two when an investment decision is being made?
Yes, if I got it right, the banks, the commercial banks, have a really keen eye on this issue, and as it was mentioned before, they sometimes overestimate these issues. They ask for collateral, they want to be on the safe side, so to say. But investing in these business fields we just talked about, especially those which are related to decarbonization, etc., they are risky. You do not see the result right at the beginning. And the risk policy of investors, the risk policy of banks, from my personal point of view, has to change, and they have to take much more risk if they want to be part of the solution than they do at the moment. When we see that the sums which are discussed, which are to be invested, then it will not work on the basis of their business decision on the one hand, but for myself it's even more important, the political framework. The political framework has to be designed so that investors are willing to put their money into a special market and a special issue, to put on a special issue. And the German Banking Association, for example, yesterday published that they asked the politics to allow banks to have much more smooth regulation framework to allow them to do investments they want to support. But in the end, none of any commercial banker or even funds at the end of the day, they want to see a return on investment. Probably in the long run, probably in the very long run, but in the end, it's needed, of course, because of the systematic of the investment process.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to Mr. Lortheet. So your role at the development of Cambodia, the role that you are playing. Over the last 2 or 3 days, have noticed a number of investment capital firms, PE firms come and establish presence in Cambodia. So what is the trend you're seeing? Which sectors are receiving most investment in Cambodia? And how does it look maybe over the next 3 years, moving in which direction?
Hello. Yes, according to the report, the most investment in Cambodia is the infrastructure and services. But if we look at from the January, 3rd January 2024, up to now for the agriculture, only 2.67% only. About, as I could remember, 72 million US dollar. It is a report that we register at the Council for Development at Cambodia. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. I think we are coming to a close. I'd invite any questions from the audience. We can take maybe a question or two. Yes, please. If you could please identify yourself and who you're asking the question to.
Good afternoon. I'm Pema from Bhutan. For those of you who do not know where Bhutan is, it's a small country hiding between China and India. My question is directed to Professor Sapina. You talk about the people not having access to finance, right? Not having the collateral or the security against the loan. How are we going to address this issue? Because in Bhutan, people say, by the way, Bhutan, we have a very nascent private sector. And one of the claims they say is the access to finance is a constraint for private sector in Bhutan. How are we going to address that? What is your solution to this? Personally, what I feel is, it's not only access to finance that's the constraint, it's the readiness to access to finance is a constraint, because the regulator must be ready, the market must be ready, private sector must be ready, the bankers must be ready. So, according to you, how are we going to develop a private sector that is going to be vibrant and that will contribute to the economy? Because we talk about the economies of scale. In Bhutan, we have a population less than 700,000. How are we going to do that? Thank you.
Yes, My thought is I have no thought. Because the case Cambodia bank function on collateral. Without collateral, it's not like in advanced economy, you have a great idea, bank will finance. Right now, you can have the best idea in the world without the collateral, they are not entertaining your loan. So that's the issue, same as Bhutan. But Cambodia, I must admit, I have not seen any new, I would say, trend toward a less collateralized. I'm not saying we need all collateralized, but there have to be a minimum collateralized for a business that is viable. If you have a good business plan, you should not be able to come up with your house, your land, everything to put as a collateral. The problem in Cambodia now, you need to put your house, you need to put your land, you need to put everything as a collateral. So I think these are the challenge for banks here. And I'm sorry, I don't have that answer.
So if I can supplement Excellency's thought, one is, of course, we know where Bhutan is. The happiness index is highest in your country, and we are very happy to be your neighbors. In terms of collateral free, there is one thought which is really not picked up, which is transaction-based financing. So when the raw material is being purchased, how do you take charge of that raw material, or escrow or do an escrow of receivables and provide that financing? So then you're trying to do it with minimal collateral and saying that yes, if something goes wrong, the raw material that you've sourced, the cashew that you've sourced, is going to be taken over. So that is one mechanism to do. It's not happened in large volumes. On a small scale, we've seen that happening in different parts of the world.
Since you mentioned about agriculture, say for example in the cashew, the bank say, okay, well, we need your collateral, we need that cashew in the warehouse. But if there is no warehouse that you can store all this cashew, how you gonna quantify? How you gonna make sure that that collateral, that cashew, is in that warehouse? Because you have to be able to demonstrate to the bank. Because if not, the bank say, well, I'm not gonna lend you. But you say, well, I have 5,000 tons. Yeah, but where? Oh, some in this village, some in that village. No way. So the whole ecosystem have to work together. And here, I would say the role of the state matter. The state have to come up first to help with the initial endowment to build a warehouse, for example, to build a drying field, for example, so that the farmer can just bring their crop. They bring their crop, you dry, and then you move to the warehouse, and the bank can step in to say, okay, we're gonna collateralize that 5,000 tons in that warehouse. But again, chicken and egg, without a warehouse, nothing you can do. So I think it is possible, but it does take steps to implement. And in that step, the state has to step in first. The state has to step in. The private sector will not step in because it's not their job. It's not their job to build a warehouse to accommodate the farmer. So anyway, I think it's a long story. Okay, thank you. Sorry.
Thank you very much, Excellency. As Excellency mentioned earlier, this will perhaps take a much longer discussion, and maybe ADFIAP will consider doing something specially on this subject. But thank you very much, panel members. We are very coming to close for this. Really grateful for your participation. Thank you very much, audience. It's been a trying time, the last session after lunch. Really appreciate your participation. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for our session 6 that have concluded successfully. Ladies and gentlemen, please give us some time for the certificate handover ceremony. May I please invite Ms. Go Lei, ADFIAP member, Executive Vice President, Global Finance of China Development Bank, to be on stage and to do the honor of handing over our appreciation certificates and token of appreciation to all of our panelists, especially our moderator of today. This is our final panel discussions and final session of our 47th annual meeting of the ADFIAP. Thank you so much to our moderator and our panelists for sharing good presentations of each topic to our panel discussions. Thank you so much. Now we would like to take one last photo together. Ladies and gentlemen, 47 ADFIAP annual meetings final sessions have concluded successfully. Thank you so much to all the participants, all of our panelists, moderator who have prepared so much materials to share with our guests of honors today. May I kindly remind you that for tonight's dinner, please bring your gift and souvenir that you have arranged for the special exchanging activities. This will happen after dinner. So I repeat, please arrange your gifts and souvenir for our exchange activities after dinner tonight. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we have concluded all of our sessions successfully. And now it is time that we move forward and transition into the General Assembly meeting, which is delegates meets delegates. This is only open for ADFIAP members only. The rest of our guests of honor, you can take a break, and we will call you back in at 6 p.m.